Good morning. Today's lesson is on ultrasounds and karyotypes, so how we can determine if there are some genetic disorders with a person. Okay, so this first screen here is actually showing you an ultrasound. So if you guys have had a younger sibling, then you may have actually seen an ultrasound before. It doesn't have to be done just on pregnant women, but that's obviously what they use it the most for. Some people have them done on organs or other things that are soft tissue. Okay, so in this ultrasound here, what they actually use are sound waves, and they're higher than sound waves. That's where ultra comes from. Okay, and you see this is the woman's uterus here, and this is the developing baby. So what they can do with something like that is make sure that the heart's beating properly. They can measure the length of bones, the circumference of their skull. It's a really good diagnostic tool to see how far along the baby is. And if it's not for a pregnancy, they can make sure other organs are functioning properly, or they can see stones in a gallbladder or kidney or other things like that. Okay, so let's say this is a woman and they actually see something that they're not quite sure of. So then something else they might do is something called an amniocentesis. And that actually means puncture the amnion, which is the sac that our developing babies grow up in. Okay, so what they do is under the guidance of the ultrasound, they stick this really long needle in there, and they're not jabbing the baby, guys. What they're doing is they're getting the fluid that surrounds the baby, because those baby's cells, as she grows, right, and keeps getting bigger and bigger, she will shed cells, and they can get those cells, and then they can look at the genetics inside of the nucleus of that and determine if there is any genetic condition of this baby. Okay, so this is a picture of it in real life. So there's the ultrasound wand, there's the needle, and of course that's the iodine, since they are puncturing the skin. And I'll put links to these for you. Okay, all right, so now talking strictly about the karyotypes. So first of all, just know this doesn't have to come just from that amniotic fluid. If I was concerned that I had a genetic condition, they could just get some blood from me and do this same thing. Okay, so what they do, karyotyping, is when they take the chromosomes out of the nucleus of cells, okay, and they kind of arrest them, which means they stop them from dividing. They put a chemical on them so they can't divide, okay, and then they actually stain them so they could see the chromosomes, all right? So I know we haven't done our our DNA unit yet, but just so you know, humans have 46 chromosomes, all right? 23 pair. So obviously you get 23 from your mother, 23 from your father, okay? And they match. And what I mean by match is like by size and the genes that are on there. Okay, so then what they do is they won't last forever, obviously, so they line them up. A computer does this now, I'm sure, and they take pictures of it, and then they can analyze the chromosomes. Okay, all right, so just some basics here. This entire picture is called a karyotype, all right? What they do is they line up the homologous pairs. Okay, oops, let's put that in the wrong spot. They line up the homologous pairs, okay? So see how this is chromosome pair 19. Same size, same shape. The centromere of the chromosomes is in the same spot, and so on, okay? Now, we have two of these. These are called our sex chromosomes. Guys, all they do is determine your gender, and then, of course, characteristics that go along with that gender. All right, so I'm going to show you this in a minute, but XY is a male. So this would give a male his normal characteristics along with his organs and his sperm. Okay, now the other ones are just called autosomes. That kind of makes me think of Autobots on Transformers. But anyway, what an autosome is, it basically determines everything about you other than your gender. Okay, so your hair color, the fact that you have 2 eyes, 10 fingers, 10 toes, fingernails, toenails, etc., etc. So all 44 of these chromosomes determine everything about you, except these two determine your gender. Okay, if that makes sense for that. All right, So let's go here, and this is what I just said. An autosome determines all of your characteristics. We have 22 pair, 44 total chromosomes. You got to realize that's a lot of genetic information to make us humans, right? And then your sex chromosomes are the final last pair. We only have 2. So XX is a female and XY is a male. If you notice that one X is necessary for survival, you cannot survive without an X, okay? So how a little poem I came up to remember this, XY is a guy, okay? So remember that poem that it rhymes, XY is male, XX is female, okay? All right, so what kind of things can they see on a karyotype? Well, remember, we're supposed to have 2, right? A homologous pair at each one. Sometimes there can be too many. There might be 3 of them. So this is called a trisomy. Think of a tricycle, right? 3 wheels. See how here at set 13, there are 3 chromosomes instead of 2. This is caused by a non-disjunction. And you're thinking probably, what's wrong with having an extra chromosome? But you got to remember, every time your cells reproduce, they're going to copy that extra chromosome. So it's too much genetic information. Okay, sometimes instead of there being 2 chromosomes there, there's only 1. So this is called monosomy. Remember, mono means 1. So you have a lot of genetic information that is missing there. Okay, and then some other disorders that you can see are deletions, translocations, inversions, insertions, and we'll learn more about these when we do DNA. But a deletion is pretty easy to see. See how on homologous pair 6 here, this is the full chromosome, but on the second partner here, part of the chromosome has actually been deleted. It's almost like if you delete a page from a paper you're writing, okay? A lot of genetic information could be missing from that. So these are just 3 examples of things that you can see on a karyotype that might be causing a particular genetic disorder. Okay, so let's take a look at these karyotypes. If you're confronted with one of these, either on the exam or on a worksheet or something, the first thing I want you to do is look at the sex chromosomes, the X and the Y's, or the X's and X's, to see if it is a male or a female. Okay, so we're going to do that on these. So see how here we have 2 X's and no Y's. So remember, if there is not a Y, it has to be a female. So this one is a normal female. Okay, XX. All right, this one over here, we have 1 X and 1 Y, so everything else looks good. So this would be considered a normal male, XX. Okay? All right, now let's take a look when some things go wrong. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is look at the sex chromosomes. So we're going to go over here to our XY. All right, now I'm hoping that you already see that there's a problem here. We have 2 X's and a Y. So this is X, X, Y. Okay, so this person actually has 47 chromosomes instead of 46, but I have a question for you. Male or female? Well, if there is a Y, it has to be a male. Okay, so this particular disorder is called Klinefelter's, and y'all are going to have a chance to look that up in just a minute, so I'm not going to go any further into that. But since the Y is here, it is definitely a male. Okay, all right, how about this one? We'll look right here first. XX, this is a female, so we know this is a female here. Okay, and I want you to scan through, 2, 2, 2, keep going through, okay? Uh-oh, I see a problem here. See how there are 3 chromosomes there? So this person also has 47 chromosomes. This is a very common genetic disorder that's associated with the age of the mother. This is Down syndrome. I'm sure you guys have heard of that before. We actually have students in our school with this condition. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Remember, we go to the sex chromosomes first. X and then nothing. Okay, so what do we think? Male, female, what you think? Well, since there is no Y, this has to be a female, okay? But the problem is she is missing her second X chromosome. So this is actually called Turner syndrome. She doesn't develop the secondary sex characteristics, and more than likely she will be sterile, which means she cannot have children. Okay, so guys, this is a modern karyotype. Obviously, we have computers that do work for us, so they can put the chromosomes in a computer, and the computer can arrange them by color, by size, and then it is much easier to tell if there are any genetic conditions going on. It's come a long way from scientists cutting and pasting all these chromosomes. Okay, so the next thing I want y'all to do is I'm going to give you some practice with karyotypes, but I also want you to try this on this particular website, and I'll send you the link. So basically, oh, I guess I'm on the wrong one. Here we go. Okay, so you're going to try to do this karyotype here, and I would like you can turn the hints on if you want to, but I don't think you need them. Okay, so let's leave the hints off, and then all you do is you move the chromosomes to the right spot, and if they're in the right place, they will stay there. Let me just do this one on purpose. If it is wrong, it'll go back. Okay, and then you can determine if this is a male or a female and see if there's any other conditions. So I just want you to give that a practice, okay? And then there's also a Google form or doc to do on karyotypes, and you'll be done for the day. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.